In a small, sun-scorched village in Somalia, a woman named Amina clutched her frail son, Idris, against her chest. The relentless drought had transformed their once fertile land into an expanse of dust and despair. The skies, once a promise of rain, now hung empty, mirroring the hollowed hopes of the villagers. Amina's husband, Musa, had left months ago in search of water, food, anything to keep his family alive. Every dawn, Amina would rise and scan the horizon, her heart aching with each passing day that Musa did not return. She knew the risks he faced, bandits, wild animals, the unforgiving desert, but hope was a stubborn thing, clinging even when logic dictated otherwise. The village well, their lifeline, had dried up weeks ago. The elders spoke of how it used to gush with water, enough for everyone. Now, it was just a hole in the ground, a grave for their collective dreams. The children, once vibrant and noisy, were now skeletal and silent, their laughter replaced by the soft whimpers of hunger and thirst. Amina had heard of humanitarian aid camps set up by international organizations, rumored to be just a few days' walk away. But the journey was perilous. She had seen other villagers leave, only to hear later that they had succumbed to the elements, their bodies found lifeless under the harsh sun. Yet, as Idris grew weaker, his breath more labored, she realized she had no choice. Staying meant certain death, leaving offered a sliver of hope. Gathering what little they had, a worn-out blanket, a small pot, a picture of Musa, Amina set off with Idris on her back. The first day was bearable. She found a few prickly bushes with berries, enough to keep them going. At night, she wrapped Idris in the blanket, singing to him softly, recalling the stories her mother used to tell her, trying to weave a cocoon of comfort around her child. The second day was harder. The sun beat down mercilessly, and the sand seemed to stretch endlessly. Amina's feet were blistered, and her lips cracked and bled. She kept walking, driven by the faint heartbeat she could feel against her back. Idris had stopped crying, his silence was more terrifying than his wails. On the third day, Amina stumbled upon a dry riverbed. Her heart leaped with false hope. She dug frantically with her hands, the dry earth tearing at her fingers, but there was no water. Exhausted, she collapsed beside Idris, pulling him into her arms. She whispered stories of lush fields and flowing rivers, trying to paint a picture of a world he might never see. By the fourth day, Amina's strength was waning. She hadn't eaten in 2 days, and her vision blurred from dehydration. She knew they were close to the aid camp, she had to be. Her legs buckled, but she forced herself up, one step at a time. Idris was barely conscious, his small body limp against her. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows over the barren landscape, Amina saw a speck on the horizon. It grew larger, and she recognized the tents and the symbol of an international aid organization. She cried out, her voice a raspy whisper, but it was enough. Aid workers rushed towards her, their faces a blend of concern and relief. Amina collapsed into their arms, her body spent but her spirit unbroken. Idris was taken from her, whisked away to receive immediate care. As she lay on the stretcher, and dripping life back into her veins, she allowed herself to hope again. She had made it. Against all odds, she had brought her son to safety. And as the stars began to dot the night sky, Amina whispered a prayer for Musa, wherever he was, and for the strength to rebuild their shattered lives.